we are back here on the Brick by Brick podcast with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah. Thanks again to Mojo Brooks for hanging out with us here today, having some fun here. And now we're gonna dial into a big time matchup.
Yes.
Obviously
Here
we're
for it,
gonna give the keys and the blueprint on how to beat the Rams. But I think all the conversation has been the home field advantage. It hasn't really been as much about at least from the Bears side of things, is like the X's and O's. I think everybody understands the chess match between Sean McVay and Ben Johnson. But like the big element this week is the Rams are practicing in 80-degree weather in LA, and now they're coming to frigid temperatures here on Sunday. Before we get into the keys, I know we've talked about this over the last few weeks, and so maybe some of this will be a little repetitive, but at the same time, like, it does feel like that's going to play. I mean, between the fans in the stands and the silent count, and the effect the fans can have, and then the weather itself. We were talking with Brian Baldinger, the wind. Everybody talks about the cold, but the wind, when it's cold like that and you got 40-mile-an-hour winds, that makes it even more brutal.
Look, it's an advantage that the Chicago Bears have. So, home field advantage. And also, like, the noise, too. Like, it's weird because the crowd doesn't even really know what to do when the offense is on the field or when the defense is on the field. You have to retrain them in these type of moments. But we have to take advantage of the situation with home field advantage. And the cold is the cold. Like, both teams have to play in it. And I feel like the Bears just know how to deal with it a little better than, obviously, the L.A. team. But L.A.'s going to get they're going to get smacked in the face real hard with this wind and this cold and this ice and everything else, and these elements. It's going to come into play for sure.
Anybody can talk tough, but when you leave 80 degrees and you come out and just like you were saying, Braggs, with the wind chill, and we're talking, in the teens, the first thing you want to do is say, hey, listen, let's get in and let's get out as fast as we can. And some of that man, I know this is playoffs. I know that the Super Bowl is, it's within our reach, but it's cold outside. Like, it's cold here, and it does come into play. Oh, either way, it doesn't matter when the clock starts, when that ball is kicked off, got to play football.
That's right.
All right?
Both teams got to play
football.
Both teams got to play.
Yep.
One thing that Baldinger brought up quickly, I know we got some things to get to, but, he said, like, with the wind, obviously that affects the kicking and affects passing. But the one thing he brought up that I never really realized, and maybe you guys can, shed some light into this, is he said when the wind is whipping really hard, it's really hard to hear. Like, when you guys are trying to communicate on the field and like, you got to, like, turn your helmet just so, like, you can hear the communication across the field from your teammate. Is that a big effect for you guys on defense in that regard, or little hand signals?
Silent counts.
Signals. This has been one of those things that's been tested a long time, so now you see a lot of guards look back at their quarterback. As soon as they're ready, they'll tap. There's ways around it, for a defense. We always work signals, okay? So if it's a loud stadium and we can't hear anything, we work signals, signals. There's taps. There's different things that you do that lets the sideline know that you guys are all communicating.
Okay. It's about focus also, when you get into these element situations. The team that can focus on the job at hand is a team that's going to be successful. You have all these little elements that are just picking at you and pulling at you, from the wind to the wetness of the football and things like that. If you're able to just focus and lock in, those are the teams that are going to be successful. And if you know how to, like, actually go through these elements and focus through these elements, you have a bigger chance of success.
And where do you guys think the emotional level for the Bears are right now? Is there which way can you look at it? Is this okay, they slayed the dragon, and so now they're going to play loose and confident because you're not playing so tense because it's your rivals that you've got all this pent-up energy against? Or is there a letdown in emotion because coming off such a emotional, crazy win that the press is still talking to him about it yesterday, and it's hard to, move on from that because of how special it is. Like, you guys have been through some of the craziest games in Bears history. How hard is that to then move on to the next game when you've got so much riding on the line?
I think there's a lot of things that go into play, after a game like this. There's a lot of reminders for the team, on how to stay focused, how to stay locked in. There are things where you're going to show to remind you of how you played, especially in that second half. You keep reminding you how you played in that second half. This is who we are. These are the plays. And you go around that room and you talk about all the different players that played. You talk about the snapper, that snapped the ball that allowed Santos to kick it. There's a lot of different things that happen during the game. There's things that you laugh about. There's things that you have to improve. There's walkthroughs. There's things that you want to see in practice. But there's always this reminder that, your emotions are high if you stay locked in, like Zoom said, but we also need to stay locked in. You stay locked in. The team that stays locked in and executes is the team that's going to win.
Last year we lost 10 games in a row. So like we were in certain games too, but it felt like, damn, are we going to win? Can we lock in and get over the hump? Like we just didn't feel that. And then this year they're learning how to win games. Last year I felt like they learned how to lose games. This year they're learning how to win games and take advantage of the situation. Now they might have not have started pretty. They might not have gotten everything right the first time, and they start later on in the games, but they understand that, wait a minute, we've come back 7 straight times in the fourth quarter, and we're learning how to close out and win these games when it matters the most. So that I say that's the biggest thing. Like learning how to win in the NFL is a big part of it, but then just keeping the focus, keeping the confidence, knowing that you've done it before, and then going out there and executing. Like last week, man, it was not looking good.
Right.
But this team was like, you know what? If we lock in and we're able to just get a couple of stops, put up a couple of points, we can get back into the hunt. And then once we get back into the hunt, the other team is going to be like, oh, wait a minute, here they come. Right. You know what I mean? Here come the Bears again. Right. So I think that we switched it all the way around from last year, and it's working out well. I would like for them to start fast and just get it over with, but this isn't the team. This team finds ways to win football games late into the game, and that's just something that they've been doing all year round, and they feel confident doing that.
I think you bring up a great point in that regard, because it isn't just the Bears' self-belief, because they've done it so many times this year, which I brought up a million times in the last couple of weeks. Like, this is unique. We've talked about it in the last few break-by-break. Like you in 2001, the back-to-back interceptions for Mike Brown and the wins in overtime. Like that was twice in that year. Yeah. Like you guys had great wins, but they weren't all like that. Right. It was a couple of them. Getting to the Super Bowl in 2006, the Monday Night Miracle. That was one game that year. You guys had some battles, but there was nothing like that game. Whereas the Bears this year, they have had 7 games like this. You don't ever see that. And so in that regard, when you talk about the belief in the Bears, really also the factor is what you said. When they start to come back, the other team starts to think about it, because after rewatching the Bears-Packers game for the 8th time this week, at halftime when they interviewed Matt LaFleur,
they were worried.
He was like, we're doing great, but we got to close.
They were worried.
This team, has a propensity to come back. And that gets in your head a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so maybe it was already in the Packers' head that was a chance that could happen. But now they've kind of put the whole league on notice. So while the Rams haven't really had to deal with this with the Bears yet, they know the Bears can do it. So now when you get into a second half and there's a comeback that is starting to occur, it isn't just a here we go again in a good way for the Bears. It's becoming a here we go again with the other team. Like, geez, now we got to deal with this. Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this then. If the Bears are entering the fourth quarter trailing by 7, who has more pressure on them, the Bears or the Rams?
Right.
Seriously.
Right. I mean, I think it answers itself. It's the other team, because the Bears are the
Bears come back.
It seems like
they were born in it, molded by it.
You run to the dog.
That's a good one.
I was born of it. It seems to me like there's a real sense of urgency that happens in the second half. So a sense of urgency that's not there in the first half. So the Bears are able to pull off these incredible wins, and a lot of it is coming from second half comebacks. when they're able to put it all together and have that same sense of urgency in the first half as they do in the second half, that's when they'll start really pulling away from teams.
The good thing is that we've seen all phases of that with the Chicago Bears this season.
Yeah.
You know, Dallas was a big win for the Chicago Bears when they came up here. Like, they were able to put a lot of things together and really put it to Dallas. Going up to the Eagles, you know, they really put it together against the Eagles. The crazy comebacks like last week, they're able to overcome. So all these situations add up and they work in the Bears' favor. So this is a great thing for the Chicago Bears. It lets me know that they're staying focused. You know, they might not be focused in the first half or whatever, but in the second half, they figure out what to do and they figure out how to win football games. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Win the football game.
Well, and I'm a big believer in the law of averages, you know, in sports, and what goes up must come down, and, you know, and vice versa. And so to me, the Bears haven't really played a complete game in a while. They keep playing these games where they got to, like, pull a rabbit out of their head or scratching and clawing.
A lot of things have to go right.
They are fully capable of playing better in the first half than they've shown here lately.
Absolutely.
And so it's kind of like a matter of time. Like, okay, if these teams aren't going to – if these other teams keep letting the Bears off the hook, you might run into a situation where they actually get hot. Because they're not they're not hot right now. They just won, they had lost 2 in a row and they win this one barely. Yeah. So I'm not and they didn't have everything go their way in that game. They had 2 turnovers and they had 4 turnovers on downs. They had essentially 6 turnovers in that game and 0 takeaways on their own end and still found a way to win. So if these teams are going to keep letting the Bears off the hook when they play like that, then you're kind of setting yourself up for a chance that they're going to play much better, and now you got to deal with that Bears team. You know, I mean, but we'll find out. And you only got –
I hope it happens like that.
Yeah, you only got so many games here, and so, it's win or go home the rest of the way. 1 game at a time.
And then there were 8.
Right. NFL divisional, round here coming up with Bears and Rams. First time in 16 years since the Bears will be playing in the divisional round. So what do you got? Key number 1 for you.
Well, listen, the Rams, they have the number 1 offense in the league. Their defense, they're just outside of top 10 defense, and they're playing well as well. The one place where they don't perform on the high end of the league is special teams. So special teams needs to be a factor.
That third phase.
It has to come into a factor, create something, create an opportunity for the offense, put them in a position or even in field position, put the defense, push them back on a punt, Tory Taylor, and create a turnover, a takeaway, create a score or set up a score for the Bears.
Absolutely. No question. I mean, you had the 3 field goals from Cairo Santos, who I've always believed in. Never had a bad word to say about Cairo Santos.
Never.
And, and when he had that kick that it didn't pass the landing zone on the kickoff, I didn't say one bad word about it. It happens.
Right, Pinocchio.
It happens. And there's no reason for anyone out there to be immature and overreact to a bad kick here and there.
No doubt.
It's cold out there. The ball gets a little harder and – hey, we saw what happened with the Packers kicker. So be grateful out there, Bears fans, that you have Cairo Santos, because you could have Brandon McManus, then you'd be sitting at home right now if that was the case. And then obviously they had the forced fumble.
Yes.
One thing that didn't get brought up on the post-game show, Steven, and I don't know if I revealed it to Hogue, but I hadn't used the seance gif on Twitter. I had been going to this early in the year, like dropping the turnover seance gif. And I dropped it right before Josh Jacobs had the kickoff, and then they punched it out and fumbled it. They didn't recover it, but I think my black magic is working again here.
Interesting.
All I'm saying is that was almost a huge play on special teams. Tory Taylor, apparently they're not going to punt this playoffs. So we'll see if Tory makes an impact in this game. But I guess the hope is that he doesn't. And so we'll see what happens there. But absolutely, special teams got to be a factor. And Devin Duvernay also had some big returns.
Yeah, some good returns.
He did.
So he's starting to heat up a little bit, too, make an impact.
Absolutely.
All right, key number 2 for you.
Key number 2, get off the field on 3rd down, fellas. I think this is key. It was to me, it was the difference of this last game in the second half. The amount of times that the defense got off the field on third down, and even one of those converted third downs that went to fourth down, they stopped them on fourth. That was able to get the ball back to your offense, get the ball back to your playmakers so that they can make the heroic, the magical end and give us an opportunity to win. One opportunity to win, we've got to get off the field on third down.
Absolutely, no question. I mean, talk about the adjustments they made from the first half to the second half. DeMarco Jackson obviously came in and had a big impact.
Yeah, flying around.
You had some different guys.
Good calls. There was good calls by Dennis Allen. You know, and we criticize coaches and players, but at the same time, you also give them a pat on the back. And there were heavy criticisms in the first half. In the second half, he made some outstanding calls. He made some great blitzes or run blitzes on rundowns that created long third downs for them, and they got off the field.
It was a 4 straight 3-and-outs.
4 straight.
That was huge.
Yes.
Well, and that was
really
the thing.
big for momentum.
Yeah, everybody was giving me crap for giving up in the first half. Rightfully so. I gave up. But everybody else gave up. Like, the reason I was so mad is the Bears went for it on fourth down on their own 30 when they were
that was a lot.
Down 14.
That was a lot.
You're down 14-3. Your defense is struggling. Now you turn it over on downs, and now your defense, who's struggling, you've only given them 30 yards to work with.
Yep.
And I was so mad because it felt like Ben was kind of like just waving the white flag, like I've given up on my defense. And the thing that frustrated me was, okay, I might have given up on the game, but everybody else was excusing Ben Johnson for that decision by saying, well, the defense can't get a stop, so that's what they're going to have to do all game. Well, that's not what that happened in the second half. The defense is the reason the Bears ended up winning. I know Caleb gets all the flowers, but if the defense doesn't get 4 3-and-outs.
Those are bad calls.
Right.
You're right. Those are bad calls. And if your defense isn't playing well, you don't risk giving the ball back to the opponent on the 30.
Don't put them in a bad situation.
You're giving away points.
Yeah.
So you get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. It looks like the injury update yesterday was a full go. It was only a walkthrough practice, but still his injury designation was full participant. So now you've had Kyler Gordon, who got one game to shake off the rust a little bit because obviously they were picking on him a little bit.
Yeah.
He did make some plays, and then there were other plays where they were going at him. But you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson returning. So they've never, Dennis Allen's never had an opportunity to play those guys together. Maybe have some unique looks to give a defense. Jalen Johnson, another game under his belt. He had some good plays. He had some plays where he's getting burned as well. So I don't know. You got to mix and match. DeMarco Jackson is somebody that made an impact as well.
I like him.
So I think the defense could potentially have, we'll see. The Rams are such a good offense,
Very
but.
good.
They're going to have to do some different things to get unique, and essentially one of the big keys is going to be stopping the run as well. Yeah. So you even had a guy named Jalen Reeves-Maybin, who they just picked off the street a couple weeks ago. He got in there in linebacker and was making plays yesterday or on Saturday as well. So just a lot of different names, but guys that are going to have to make plays here coming up on Sunday.
Yeah.
Azumah, you're up. Your keys.
Yeah, so this one's easy. Just start fast on offense. Like, we're still waiting to see this start fast thing on offense. We've always talked about, running the ball and doing that effectively, getting some nice rhythm throws to the wide receivers just to get them into, some type of a rhythm. But just starting fast, not waiting until the very fourth quarter or the very end of the game to get this thing going. I want to see them coming out right out the gate and then scoring some points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, but just progressively moving the ball down the football field, linking up drives, especially on third down, being effective in the run game and scoring points, putting the pressure on the other team early.
Too many stalled drives early.
Too many stalled drives.
Too many 3-and-outs. Early on.
They just don't get clicking right away.
And
Steven
called this because I'm big. If you win the toss, you always choose to kick. Always. That's my rule. I would never kick because I want that ball in the second half to start. I think the ebb and flow of the game, everybody's trying to, get into the game early on. And then in the second half, there's so much that happens. And if you have that ball to start the second half, it's just, to me, it's such a boost. And if you can get off to a fast start, even with deferring, to me, then it's an added boost to what you've already done. Whereas the Bears this time, Steven called it, because all week we were kind of talking about this, and they won the toss and they chose to receive.
Take the ball, baby.
And then they get down. They ended up getting a field goal, but you need 7, right? So like if you're gonna start fast, getting 7 points on the board as opposed to 3, it makes all the difference in the world. But it will be interesting to see if the Bears win the toss, what they choose to do this week. I'm still rooting for kicking it, but to your guys' point about starting fast, sometimes that's an attitude thing, right?
It is an attitude
Like, hey,
thing.
we're going to take the ball because we've been practicing all week these first 15 plays, and we're going to score.
It's all scripted. We're going to go right down the football field and score a touchdown. Like I love that attitude.
Yeah.
Love it.
But you got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
You got to do it. So
My running back days.
Yeah, 53 carries. It's true. All right, key number 2 there, Zoom.
Number 2 is easy. Get physical on defense. Now, look, it's going to be cold. There's going to be elements that come into play on the defensive side of the football. Well, for the game, I should say. And it's all about getting physical. Like, if this defense can go up there and just put a hat on a hat, fly around, run the run lanes, get physical with whoever has the football, get them down, set the tone on defense, get physical. I think with the elements included, you will wear this team out. Like, there's a lot of people that just don't like to get hit when it's cold outside. So if you can attack a team and continuously pound on them, it will be a great thing for the Chicago Bears.
So let me ask you this. As somebody that played running back and also played defensive back, what's worse in the cold? Getting hit or having to hit?
Getting hit. Nobody wants to get hit in the cold.
It's a lot of hot breath out there.
No one wants that. No one wants that. But get after the people. Like, get after the wide receivers, especially. Because, Puka's going to come in here, and they're going to be looking for Puka. Like, wherever he's at, the ball is going to be going to Puka. They have a 2-headed running back system. So running back system by committee. So this team is well put together, especially on the offensive side of the football. But if you get physical with this team, especially in these elements, I think that you can wear them down early. So get physical. Get physical. Have an attitude about yourself. Get after the quarterback. That's what I want to see. Get after the quarterback. Don't allow them to have these big explosive chunk yards that we gave up last week.
This offensive line has done a great job of protecting Stafford. They've done a great job this year.
They have.
It's one of the deals that's
Stafford's been on
worried
point.
about. Yeah, one of those deals that I'm worried about. Even though Coleman Shelton went back over there and he's figured it out. But we have to find ways to dial up pressure. And one of the things that concerns me about that pressure is when the Rams see both those linebackers walking up, there's going to be a big chunk of wide open field in the middle. And if we
already know what they're going to do.
Right. It's going to be
run-away routes.
Puka-boo.
Run-away.
But they're not going to go this way. They're going to go this
routes.
way. Right.
Yeah.
So
they have to anticipate that. The linebackers and the safeties have to be ready for that. They just have to play with great anticipation. Like, if you watch the Texans and when they play with a lot of anticipation. Oh, man. Like, even if they're wrong, it's okay. But if they're anticipating certain things, they're thinking about it, they go out there and they make a lot of plays. So I think that the Chicago Bears can do that. They just have to get physical, though. Beat them at the point of attack, and good things will happen.
Yep. And to Lance's point about the Rams' offensive line doing a great job protecting Stafford, fewest sacks allowed in the league, only 23.
Yeah.
Right.
He's been upright all season. That's probably why he might be MVP right now.
Where was Caleb ranked in that?
I've got the Bears. I'm not sure this is the right list, but it says 24 total sacks allowed. So right behind him.
Right behind, yeah.
Yeah, well, and when you say Coleman Shelton's figured it out, it's amazing what good coaching will do, right? Sometimes, like, a lot of times, like, as fans, you'll go after players, but sometimes there's an underlining thing going on behind the scenes with coaching. Like, coaching makes a difference.
It does.
I mean, if you remember Coleman Shelton, he was the guy that was getting manhandled, in the middle. I'm wondering, what has changed. And if that's been his MO, if you're looking at his tape, you're like, okay, we should be taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get somebody to throttle this guy,
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, I'll say this much. When you looked at the second half of that game, the first thing that jumped off the page to me was DeMarco Jackson, and when they sent him, he's somebody that gets physical.
Yeah.
And if you're sending that blitz through the gap right in Coleman Shelton's face, test that physicality.
Yes.
See if you can blow him back.
Yes.
Even if you
got some big tackles in there. You got some big wide bodies.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I need the DBs to get physical with these wide receivers too, man.
Yeah.
Don't let them off the line of scrimmage, man. That's what they want. They want free releases so that they just turn this thing into a track meet. Yep. You got to walk up on them, even if it's a zone. Walk up on them and threaten them with just your body position,
yep.
or make them run the bubble just based off your body position. But get up there and challenge these wide receivers. That's what I want to see, because if you just let these guys get a free release and then it's just routes on air, like, it's just going to be a track meet, because we know what Puka is capable of doing. You know what I mean? Like, we know what this offense is capable of doing. And also with the backs too. So it's going to be imperative for the linebackers to be coming downhill on these backs and take away any kind of throws that are dump offs, especially into the flats.
Absolutely. All right. And speaking of DeMarco Jackson, that gets me to my first key, and that is, don't forget who helped you get here. Yeah, you've paid a lot of money to some certain players, and all the respect to those guys, and I want them to have just as much of an opportunity to make an impact in this game. But at the end of the day, there are certain guys that showed up here in the second half of the season that helped you get across the finish line. And when you saw TJ Edwards go out, and nobody wants to see that, well, DeMarco Jackson comes back in, a guy that had 0 snaps against the Lions, comes in and makes an immediate impact. I understand you got to give respect to Trent Edmonds. You got to give respect to TJ Edwards. But you can't forget about DeMarco Jackson, and he proved that in the second half of the game. He had a huge impact in that win over the Packers. Same can be said on the other side of the ball. Yes, Roma Dunze is now back, and we are so happy for that. You got a game under his belt. He makes the biggest catch of the game on 4th down from Caleb Williams. But Luther Burden's snap usage is now dropping to 60%. And so to me, you can't forget about a guy like Luther Burden who's gotten hot. They're not forgetting about Colston Loveland. They're feeding him the football. So my point is,
top 10 pick.
Top 10 pick. And the same goes for Kyler Gordon, right? This is his second game back. Kyler got picked on a little bit in the second half. And so Dennis Allen at times is going to have to make a decision. All right, do I want Kyler Gordon on this rep, or do I want C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Don't forget about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. When he came to this team after the loss to the Ravens, they went on to win 6 games in a row, and he had a big impact in all those games. So if he's available, you got to play him. He's made an impact. DeMarco Jackson, got to play him now. He's made an impact. Luther Burden, Roma Dunze.
We need everyone.
DJ Moore. It's a good problem to have, but my whole point is, when DeMarco Jackson a few weeks ago had 0 snaps, we can't have things like that. If there's guys on this team that have made an impact, that have helped you get across the finish line to be in the place you are, don't let them just sit on the bench. Let them get out there and be a part of this.
There's 3 phases. All right, there's 3 phases. If you're not on the field on offense and defense, there's special teams. All right, now, I don't know if Jackson didn't get 1 snap on special teams, but there are ways you can affect the game. It doesn't only have to be as the linebacker that's on the field.
Well, he had the 1 snap against the Packers where he jumped on the pile, and then I was ready to cut him.
You were ready to cut him.
Get him out of here.
Yes.
Get him off
Why
special
is
teams.
he here?
Get him out of here.
I'm going to start pronouncing your name wrong.
Yes.
Oh, man.
But you're right. Don't forget about the people that got you here, and I don't think they do. There's a way that you want to go about things, and I think during the course of the game, eventually it comes to a point where it's like, listen, we got to get somebody else in there. This isn't working. Let's try something different.
Well, because another guy to bring up in this regard is Tyreek Stevenson, who didn't play in the first half. Then as soon as he comes out there in the second half, Christian Watson's running to the end zone and he forces a fumble. Now the Bears didn't fall on it. Bears had like 3 or 4 forced fumbles in that game that they didn't get. But still, Tyreek Stevenson comes in, immediately makes almost a huge play in the game. You can't forget about him. You can't forget about these guys.
It's a luxury that you have that's on the sideline.
It's not easy because you only get so many reps in the game. You got to figure out what combination of personnel you want out there. And so, I'm just sitting
But
here.
he's an able and willing body. We need bodies right now.
And
so
he's
physical.
physical.
And he's physical.
And
So
he's
you got to put
physical.
him out there.
So that's my point. Whether it's Tyreek Stevenson or it's C.J. Gardner-Johnson or it's DeMarco Jackson or it's Luther Burden, yeah, you might have guys ahead of them that are making more money that you paid for this offseason to make plays, but let's get everybody involved in this.
Okay, now let's talk about this for a second. Tyreek Stevenson. All right, you have on one end you have Jalen Johnson. Okay, he's your highest paid defensive back. On the other end you have a Nashawn Wright. All right, who has arguably played the best of any of our DBs this year. You know, on a consistent basis over a long period of time. So now you get to a point where you're saying, okay, well, we're not seeing any snaps from Tyreek. Well, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know, and barring an injury, you know, and a lot of these DBs, they're literally put on an island. They're literally put on an island with little to no help on each one of these plays. And I do think that Tyreek is one of our best corners. But do I think he has played better than Nashawn? Do I think he makes more money than Jalen? Jalen, you pay him the top dollar to go out there and play. You pay too much for him to sit on the bench.
True.
You know what I mean? You pay him too much to sit on the bench, and he's a kid that a guy that hasn't been on the field a lot this year, you know, and now you're getting him. You from a money standpoint, there's a lot you got to make up for with this guy for the time that he didn't play. And he was, you know what I mean, just rehabbing and watching from the sideline, and we're paying him the big bucks.
Yeah,
Look, it's been a lot to ask from our corners.
A lot for our corners.
A lot, because what helps the corners out is just pressure. You know,
Bingo.
it starts up front. Like, so if you have no pressure up front, then it's going to be easy to complete passes. Like, eventually somebody's going to get open. And what they've been doing is they've just been running away routes. And that's the easiest thing to do, especially when you don't have pressure. So it all starts up front. So the fact that, like, yes, they do have some letdowns and they do give up some, like, explosive plays, 20 plus yards and things like that. They need to try to calm that down. But it comes to pressure. And if you're not getting that pressure, it turns into you have to get up there and get physical with these wide receivers. So that's why I said, like, if you can get your hands and disrupt some of the timing, then you have a better chance at winning that down. But if you're just letting these guys run routes on air and things like that, then it just becomes very challenging.
Yep, and they started to apply some pressure in the second half, using some different blitzes. Montez Sweat certainly showed up in the second half.
Booker showed up.
Austin Booker's been pretty consistent,
Very consistent.
since he's gotten into the rotation here in November, and he continues to make plays, and he almost took Love out of that game again last Saturday. So when he gets to you, he finishes with physicality as well. You know, and I think when you're really looking at it too, you know, because I think it's time for Jervon Dexter to stand up, right? Like he needs to make some plays here this week. You know, this is a guy that has been here a few years, and I really like the guy. I think he's a good dude, but I want to hear your name. I want to hear your name called. I know you hate when I do that, but he is a good dude. But we got to hear your name called.
Great fella.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, clean cut. Run of the mill.
Yeah.
Well spoken.
Easy name, too. That's why I love him. No, but we got to hear your name called. We got to hear your name called a few times more, right?
Yes, agreed.
So my final key, and this might be a key for me, more so than it is
this
for
is
the
for
team.
definitely for you.
And that is don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic,
Like
Greg. If the Rams start scoring points, because they're very good at that, don't panic. And yes, I am giving the final key to myself, but it is also to Ben Johnson, because I felt like he panicked as well.
Yeah, going for it on the 30-yard line.
Whether he wants to admit it or not after the game, that was our plan. Yeah, it was a stupid plan. So how about we not panic and not give up on our defense and
stay consistent with our run game.
You know,
don't panic there.
Don't panic on the run game.
Yeah, don't panic.
Don't panic on your defense.
Yeah.
And you got this far with everything you've done, you know, and stay true to those principles. And hey, they don't need me to tell them, because they've fought back, and the way they've got they're in the final 8, right? When Sunday's game is played on Sunday Night Football, there will only be 3 games left after that game. You know, so
we're here now.
Right.
We are here now.
Right.
So might as well take full advantage of it.
So I don't think they're going to panic. So maybe the key is for me to not panic.
Yeah. We won't let you panic.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine, because
we'll try not to let you panic.
Yeah, we'll see. No, you guys watch the game.
There might be some screaming.
Yeah.
Usually there is.
We'll see.
But we won't let you panic.
Give him a stogie.
Yeah, I definitely will take one. I'll tell you this much: I had one of them little cigars,
How'd it go?
this morning when I got to the studio.
Like a Marlboro?
I couldn't make it through. I couldn't make it through the whole thing because it was so cold outside, and this is daytime, and it's going to be even colder.
It's frigid
here
out
on
there.
Sunday. So if I couldn't, and I'm a tough ass bricklayer, right?
Yeah.
Good luck to the Rams in the cold they're going to have to deal with on Sunday Night Football. So that wraps things up for the Blueprint. We appreciate everyone hanging out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel.